In my work, 90% of the time I use these two composition techniques. Nowadays it's almost without thinking because I've been using these so much. So stick with me, try these out for yourself to get those better compositions in your work. But of course there are a lot more techniques, but I think these two will help you get a head start. And if you're a seasoned photographer, let me know which techniques you use on a daily basis. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk It Over. The first one is called Rule of Thirds, and you might have heard this one before because it's a common thing to use. This technique gets used in almost all visual images like films, designs, paintings, and of course photography. And the way this works is easiest explained with a grid. This grid has 9 equal parts, divided by 2 horizontal lines and 2 vertical lines, just like tic-tac-toe. The goal with this grid is that the point of interest, or the most important part of the image, is placed along the lines or at the part where they cross each other. Let me give an example with one of my images to visualize it more. This is a photo of my mother where I placed her in the frame on the left horizontal line. Her eye is crossing on the top lines, which is again a point of where this technique likes to have a subject. To make it even more interesting, the subject, who is my mother, is the brightest part of the image, which means that your eyes are drawn to that part. She's also looking into the image instead of outwards, and therefore pointing your interest or your eyes to the part where she's looking at. And that is to the silhouette of the second person, which is my sister Eva, who's also right on the line of the Rule of Thirds grid. So as you can see, you can really layer this technique with a lot of things. But the most important part is that you line up your subject with one of those lines. And the best is to have something line up where the lines are crossing. So let's do another one with a different subject. This one is a little bit more loosely, where in the first one everything was right on those lines. This photo has just one point where those lines are crossing each other. And that is the right vertical line where the door and the top window of that house are. And that is good because this house, or is it a shed? Well, it's the focus of the image. But where the rule of thirds in this image comes out the most is the way it's layered. And you can see that by filling in the blocks horizontally. The bottom part is the foreground, the middle is where the main focus of the image is, and the top, the sky, is the last layer of the photo. Let me explain this one in another image where it's a little bit more pronounced. In this image, you can really see how the bottom third of the image is the field. The second third of the image is where you can see the horizon and the first part of the sky. The top third of the image is where you can see the rest of the sky, but also those leaves from the tree that was hanging above me. A nice rule of thumb for landscape photography is that you fill in 2/3 of the image with either the sky or the landscape, and 1/3 with the other one. In this image is 1/3 of land and 2/3 of sky. But let's check it the other way around. In this image is 1/3 of sky and 2/3 of land. And as you can see, those houses are on the top lines where they cross each other. This technique can be used on all kinds of subjects, portraits, landscapes, you name it. And I use this very often. And the next technique is one I maybe use even more than the rule of thirds, and that is a center composition. At first I didn't think about it a lot, but it seems that my eyes and my brain just like it when things are centered. And therefore it became a part of my style. It sounds easy, right? Just center the subject in the image. And that is true, but to make it a little bit more interesting, you have to account for some other things. Let's grab some examples and see how it works. This first image is a photo from my parents at a movie theater. Here they are both the subject, so if you center them, the true center is empty. But why this works in this photo is because you have these repeating things outside of the frame of the subject. Like, for example, these seats. 2 empty seats on both sides makes it almost like a frame. This would even be better if all seats were empty, but I couldn't ask for those people to leave. Repeating things in a composition really helps out a lot, but I think that's for a more advanced episode if you guys are into that. Let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. So let's check out another one with the center composition. Obviously, in the center of the image is the artist, and also the light really helps you to get your eye onto that part of the image. But if you take a step back, you can see that all the lines in this photo lead your eye to the center. So to make a center composition really work, you can line up other lines in the frame to make it a lot stronger. You can even combine this with the rule of thirds, like on this image. The subject is right in the center, but the foreground, the middle and the top are in different thirds of the image. On this photo, the subject is also centered, but because of the trees and everything around it, it's framing it really. You can draw lines to emphasize the center of the image. And again, the rule of thirds works here too. But you don't always have the opportunity to have those lines line up and have the perfect composition. And you don't have to really, because the most important part is that you take the shot, because something is happening and you just need to capture the moment. A way to make your center composition to work out is to have a shallow depth of field. Like here, the background doesn't really make an impact, and therefore the subject in the middle takes all the attention. Centering your subject in the frame is sometimes just a good way to lead your eye right into it. If you place it somewhere else in the frame and the other things are just not lining up, it's easy to lose the focus and it will make the image a bit of a mess. So a quick way to help you out is when you just don't see a composition, is to just center the subject. This can be very helpful for fast-paced situations like street photography or just capturing moments with the family. But keep in mind, these rules are there to help you get better compositions, but these are in no way things you must do. I always learned that I need to practice compositions and rules, and after mastering them, you can break them again. But I think if you're new to photography or you just don't get the images that you want, these two composition techniques can really help to take better photos. As you can see in the quick examples, I've shown that there's a bit more to it than just lining up lines, and that there's also a lot of room for interpolation. Interpolation? I hope you guys learned something from this episode. Definitely let me know if you did. And if you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up in the comment section down below. You can also send me some photos through Instagram if you want me to take a look at them, give you some advice, or just to show off how amazing you are. But for now, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week. Peace.